rights, take away our life. Your comments, Leanne.
I mean, that is just so powerful, and that's what I think. I think the gay community is waking up to the fact that they have been being used by this progressive agenda, and you were really starting to see with this whole, with this massacre, where their allegiance actually lies. It's not to support your group, it's to push their agenda, and they're willing, even the activists in the LGBT community are willing to throw their own group under the bus at the altar of political correctness.
I think it's amazing that they would be bringing in people who think that murdering they say that they support LGBT people, right? Mm-hmm. So then they're bringing in totally unvetted, I mean, no background checks for these people, totally unvetted people whose religion says that they're doing a service to Allah to kill these people. And of course, now Obama says, no, he was a homegrown terrorist. Yeah, he was homegrown at the radical mosque that he attended.
But several trips to Saudi Arabia. Yeah,
exactly. Where would he get the idea that he ought to kill homosexuals, by going to Saudi Arabia, where he sees them cutting off their heads, throwing them off of buildings? Of course he's going to get that idea from them. But I think it's also interesting to see that we've got Senator Ed Markey, and of course he's the other senator from Massachusetts besides Elizabeth Warren. He came out and he said this guy was radicalized by the internet. So there you go. It's the internet that radicalized him, not Islam. They can't blame Islam. It was the internet. So we got to give up our First Amendment as well as our Second Amendment. And presumably, I guess, Leanne, the internet radicalized his gun. You know, the AR-15 somehow got radicalized. It transformed itself from a semi-automatic into a full automatic. It then magically transported itself to the scene of the crime and started shooting people on its own. I guess that is the narrative that the left is going to try to sell us at this point.
This is a classic disruption operation. They're bringing in a wedge, driving it into our society.
Yes.
In order to fracture the society, and the solution is going to be the loss of our freedom. Mm-hmm. We're going to attack the tools. They're going to attack the tools, and they're going to attack our means of communication in the name of social stability.
Yes.
But I got to go back to the Constitution. We have a First Amendment. That means we can say anything we want that's about Islam, and if the Muslims go freak out about it, that's not our problem. It's either Sharia law is on top or our Constitution is on top. But I know that all the generals and on down, they took an oath to the Constitution.
Hang on, Matt. We got to take a commercial break. We're going to be right back with Matt Bracken, Leanne McAdoo, and I'm David Knight. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the fourth hour of the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight with Leanne McAdoo and Matt Bracken. His website is enemiesforeignanddomestic.com. As we were going to break, we were talking about, as Matt characterized it, the perfect operation where you come after our tools of self-defense and you shut down our communications by attacking the First Amendment. We've had Senator Markey from Massachusetts come out and say the problem with this guy was he was radicalized by the internet. Now, they're not talking about who he talked to on the internet, the man who was given early release from prison, who had been kept in solitary confinement because he was so effective at turning people into Islamic terrorists in prison. They put him in solitary confinement. He was one of the people involved with the original 9/11 attack. They gave him early release last year. Now he has a class that he teaches, a seminar to radicalize people. And so that's the problem, not the internet. But, of course, they come after the internet. They come after the gun, not the gunman. And I think it was interesting earlier in the show, Leanne, Alex was talking about how you were tweeting out to Kim Kardashian about the Armenian genocide. And it was just recently that we had Amal Clooney, the wife of George Clooney, who was a lawyer. She came after a guy who's from Turkey, tried to put him in jail because he was a genocide denier. Now, I believe there was an Armenian genocide. And, of course, the Armenian genocide was where that term was coined. It was a classic case of a genocide. But this guy, rather than argue with him, rather than have a clash in the free market of ideas, Amal Clooney wanted to just shut him up and throw him into jail. And, of course, the liberal press and held her out as the savior of everyone, even though she lost the trial. They thought it was horrible that she couldn't lock him up for his speech. You know, we have to allow all kinds of speech out there, and the truth can win out. But we cannot allow these people like Amal Clooney like Obama, like Senator Markey, to shut down our First Amendment. Your comment?
Well, they're wanting, you can see where this is headed. They're going to want to be able to do that same thing with anyone who speaks out against Islam, who will dare utter the words radical Islam. Because when you have a president or a Hillary Clinton who refuses to acknowledge it, it allows people to continue to live in this delusion that it doesn't exist. And
Isn't it interesting that he would go, as the attack was happening, 30 minutes into the attack, he called 9/11 and said, pledged his allegiance to ISIS and so forth and so on, right? But for another 12 hours, they would not use the words terrorism or radical Islam or anything like that.
We're still not sure what the ties are.
That's right.
He hasn't made himself clear.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, it's interesting. In the first press conference that they had just after dawn, the Fox reporter, Stephen Ducey, he happened to be in town because of the unfortunate tragic shooting of the day before of the singer. So he happened to be there. They weren't going to address it at all. He brought up the question about, is there anything about Islamic radicalism? And only then did the bald FBI spokesman say, yeah, it looks like it's heading in that direction. He wouldn't have said it otherwise, but they walked it back. Boy, he must have got his wrist slapped in the intervening hours until the next press conference, because this FBI agent then walked it back and said, "Oh, we have no idea." The name of the guy, Mateen, had already been out for hours.
Yeah,
I got to talk to you guys, you FBI guys, please. It stands for Federal Bureau of Investigation, but in a lot of your T-shirts and logos, it also says fidelity, bravery, and integrity. If you have integrity, then you can't be a stooge like some kind of a proto-Stasi agent where you're just a Soviet apparatchik with a badge.
That's right.
If you have integrity, then you're not going to get orders from above to walk back the Islam portion.
Absolutely
so,
right, Matt.
FBI of Orlando, we're watching.
We're out of time.
Carefully, all you guys.
We're out of time, Matt. And that's Matt Bracken, enemiesforeignanddomestic.com. Join us tonight for the InfoWars Nightly News, 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.